And here's Pernell Whitaker on your left, playing a tune on his opponent. I get the feeling I'm watching somebody give a little piano recital here.
Stay in the corner.
Straight and easy left.
And what's amazing about it really is that Pernell Whitaker is standing there inside the eye of what could be a storm, and yet he really isn't a hard puncher. He's boxing in a way that Georgie Benton would be proud of. Georgie Benton himself is a boxer, and perhaps Pernell Whitaker is his ultimate creation here.
He's starting to make sounds around Brazier's body, Pernell Whitaker is, just to make him drop his hand a little bit for an easy shot. Brazier seems to be a bit too smart for that.
Right hand lands for Brazier, but again, Whitaker is dealing out much more than he's taking, throwing 3 and 4 and sometimes 5 punches to every one by Brazier.
Earlier, Brazier kept his feet apart. He kept Pernell Whitaker off balance. If he continues to do that, things can happen. But if he closes those legs up, Whitaker is going to go off with several combinations.
Uppercut landed for Whitaker and excited the crowd.
Be cool, Pete. Be cool.
Brazier's trying to make Whitaker commit for a hard shot. But at the same time, he's getting him with short, snappy shots.
Brazier hasn't lost a fight since he was knocked out by Razai Bramble back in 1989, the former Livingstone Bramble. He was still hampered in that fight by a rotator cuff injury that he had suffered in his title shot against Juan Koji. It's been 2.5 years since he's lost.
Brazier's no doubt the harder, heavier handed tonight. He keeps waiting for one shot. He won't get it tonight. It's going to have to be done in combination. Whitaker's not going to go down with one shot.
Whitaker, of course, faced hard punches in the lightweight division from time to time. He has been knocked down in his career by the likes of Roger Mayweather and Raphael Williams.
Sometimes when you're in the heavier weights and you throw those punches going forward, I liken it to throwing a bowling ball with a string on your arm.
Let him out, let him out, let him go, Harold.
Takes you and
let him
keeps
go, Harold.
from you. Even though you land, you're still.
All right, come on, come on, come on, keep it straight.
Referee Frank Cappuccino warning Brazier against holding Whitaker. And Whitaker winds up the round with 7 or 8 punches dealt out, only 1 in return from Brazier.
Come on, you're boxing beautiful. You're boxing beautiful.
Getting too much of an angle on it. Getting too much of an angle on it. You gotta step to your left.
Huh?
Keep it from getting too far over, all right?
4 rounds in the books now in this 10-round fight.
You can go the other way.
So we're almost halfway through.
He's in there letting them combination.
And Harold, how do you have it scored?
Jim, 40-36, 4 rounds to nothing, favor Pernell Whitaker. Jim, these two guys are standing on a dime. You could put a phone booth in that ring, and they stay in the phone booth all night. They're standing in the middle of the ring, and Pernell Whitaker's just out banging them. I mean, he's landing the cleaner, more aggressive shots, and he's just catching my eye with the cleaner punches.
And here's another virtuoso combination by Whitaker. A left, a right, followed by a right uppercut. I get the feeling I'm just watching a naturally gifted athlete against a manufactured fighter. A guy who has to study everything, and therefore he's not as quick and as loose when he throws his punches.
I find Brazier knows too much, if you ask me.
Meaning what, George?
He's thinking about doing a lot of things and not doing anything at this point, but being hit. course, Whitaker's not the harder punches, but he can get you swelling up if you keep letting him tap your face.
Well, I think that makes a good point. Whitaker looks more comfortable against a conventional boxer like Brazier than he did against wild, less polished fighters like Poli Diaz and Jorge Paez.
That gets to the point I made just before the fight, Jim. When fighters have vaguely or closely resembling styles, the quicker guy is going to have a tremendous margin, and I agree with Harold Letterman that Pernell Whitaker is pitching a shutout right now.
And throwing a lot of pitches. 110 punches thrown in round number 4. Brazier, at 73 punches, was busy by conventional standards. But Pernell is just swamping him with action.
He's thinking that he's going to knock Whitaker out with one shot.
Let him out, let him out, let him out.
And Whitaker is thinking maybe I'll hit him 3 as he waits.
Well, as you look at the 140-pound weight class, you suspect that it isn't going to take Pernell Whitaker long to attract a title shot. Solid right hand by Brazier as Pernell temporarily went to sleep and just stood still and took it.
Maybe he was thinking about the Junior Welterweight champions also at that moment, Jim, just as you were.
Great minds. The 3 titles in the division are held by Edwin Rosario of Puerto Rico, Rafael Pineda of Colombia, and the great Julio Cesar Chavez of Mexico.
The thing about Brazier, he uses his eyes well. Size it up. He doesn't like to throw wasted punches.
Left hand lead landed for Whitaker after Brazier threw the right.
When sometimes you ought to throw 6 or 7, whether they land or not, just to keep the guy off balance.
Left and a right, both solid by Whitaker. Brazier tries to answer and lands a right hand.
Right out, fellas. Come on. Now look. Let's knock it off, okay? With the back, and you knock it off when I say break. Let's go.
As I said earlier, Whitaker's vicious. Does things that are really mean.
Well, he's never been above trying to embarrass his opponents.
Come on, Pete.
But he's never really had the capacity to hurt them. Maybe he wants to develop that. Coming up later on in the evening, our main event is a championship fight. Meldrick Taylor, the WBA World Welterweight Champion, will put that title on the line against Glenwood Brown, a former Madison Square Garden star who has moved out of the Garden to get his chances at a welterweight championship, and miraculously enough gets a second title shot tonight. It's about 3.5 months after having lost his first chance at a title against Maurice Blocker. Blocker is in the audience tonight. He got the benefit of a split decision against Glenwood Brown last fall that almost everyone who saw the fight believes should have been a unanimous decision.
Okay.
Hey, look this way. Hey, Ronnie.
Now here's the punch that Brazier threw in and fired his best punch of the fight. And it didn't hurt Whitaker, which is bad news for Brazier.
He waited all night for that one shot.
That was the moment when Whitaker was listening to me talking about his upcoming title shots in the 140-pound class.
Whitaker's starting to jab to the body, which means he's going to open up to the head.
Well, as Larry has pointed out, George, this is the kind of night that George Benton loves because Pernell has a terrific target here on which to practice some of his more conventional boxing arts, and there was a great left hand flush on the face, and he drives Brazier into the ropes.
It's like he's at a candy store. He doesn't know what to reach at. Landing so many different things.
There they are, right under the net.
Of course, George Benton, the man who trained Pernell Whitaker, will be back in the corner for the second fight, taking care of Meldrick Taylor. Another prize student is Evander Holyfield.
Whitaker's starting to open up with the power that's starting to hurt Brazier.
Yeah, Pernell's getting braver and committing himself a little more to each punch, George.
It's like I said, I don't think he knows how to be afraid of Pernell Whitaker.
He's a young man who exudes self-confidence. In a sport where so many fighters like to be surrounded by people all the time and don't seem comfortable unless they're surrounded by people, you often find Pernell alone, sitting in his room alone, touring the hotel alone. He doesn't need people around him.
Tells you he likes himself. Probably likes his style of boxing, which is pretty good tonight.
Both is tied. Let him out. Let him out. Let him out.
He's actually muscling his heavier guy up against the corner. You have to say you can't get.
All right, stop punching, both of you.
This is something Brazier didn't expect at all.
Come on, Pernell. Now look, I'm not going to tell you again. Next time I have to tell you, I'm going to take a point off you. Let's go, man.
Pernell is unimpressed with Frank Cappuccino's judgments of his low blows.
He's got Brazier reaching out at him now. He's like one of those comfortable beds that goes up and down now. Anything he wants, he can make him do.
Walked into a Brazier right hand. Again, it didn't bother him all that much. Making Brazier pay to the body.
And clipping him with right hooks. He's starting to thread a needle with a straight left hand now.
Brazier trying to go to the body, but through round 6, it's another outstanding performance by Pernell Whitaker.
Keep it up. You've got to dig inside with combinations. Close the eyes. 5s and 6s. You got to put them together now. You can't. You're waiting yourself out of this fight. You understand that? Go in behind the jab.
Come up,
okay,
man.
All right. Now listen. Go around him. As long as you see when you're going around this guy in the circle, it's wearing him to death. Now remember that. So when you're close to him, all you got to do is take steps around. I don't give a damn how close you are to him. Around. Don't go back this way, right?